Chapter 312, The Next World, 2. The events that unfolded were, in a way, simple. The enraged acted in rage. Those who needed to apologize did so. Those who believed they had no right to utter a word about this world only deepened their silence. "This sucks." And the assistant writer muttered a curse. In front of the bridge, the gray spider was still kneeling. Quietly, her forehead was pressed against the ground. Over her body, the followers of the Anti-Magic Alliance threw rotten fruits and rubbish. What they were throwing was also a vomit of emotions. Thud. A black mass hit the gray spider's back and slid off.
Ah!
The assistant writer, who had been frowning, opened her lips. At the end of her gaze, a sharp dagger was slicing through the air. "Wait, that thing." But mid-flight, the dagger, with a clear ting sound, was deflected. It was me who had shot an aura-like marble to knock it down. Powerlessly, the dagger landed on the ground, 4 meters away from the gray spider. Tisk! Someone in the crowd of thousands clicked their tongue. The assistant writer seemed to have heard it too. "You there? What hideous act are you? Don't stop it." The Amejos army commander grabbed the assistant writer's forearm to halt her. Stopping them will only make them angrier. Having dealt with battlefields numerous times, I know this from experience. The assistant writer looked at the Amejos army commander, then turned to me. I said nothing. Before and after knocking down the dagger, I just silently watched with my arms crossed. Although no one else might know, that was also the pose Behurayam was taking right beside me. Seeing no reaction from me, the assistant writer turned back to the Amejos army commander. Her brows perked up in a V shape. But how can someone attack a person who has surrendered? If you've been on battlefields, you should know that's the basics, right? The Amejos army commander didn't blink an eye. Did the magic tower ever adhere to those basics? The assistant writer clenched her teeth. You, yourself, were one of those who suffered in prison with Hamastra's followers. You were tortured until you were rescued by the Death King. Moreover, the world you were born and raised in has become a colony dominated by the magic tower. It doesn't seem likely that the magic tower treated the colonies any better than the 50th floor. For a full 1,000 years. The grudges piled up by the magic tower were deep and numerous. The magic tower was not wise. Therefore, be wiser, assistant writer. Aren't you representing your world in climbing the tower? If you have the luxury to sympathize with the enemy of the world, you should rather be preparing for the next floor. Thank you. The assistant writer spoke. It was a low and cold voice. Anyway, you're saying it for my sake, right? So, thank you, and I have something else to say, listen. I'm glad you appreciate it. So, assistant writer. Rather than that, I have a proposal. If you haven't decided on a team for the 51st floor, would you like to join me? Go to hell. The Amejos army commander closed his mouth. After speaking, the assistant writer's eyes widened. Her glasses followed suit. A moment later, she flapped her arms. No, that. I didn't mean go to hell in response to your proposal to join you. Don't misunderstand. Rather, why are you making such an offer now? Forget it. Just be quiet, damn it. The assistant writer coughed several times. Then, she glanced at the Amejos army commander once more before turning around. She started walking. The assistant writer stood in front of the gray spider, more precisely, in front of the crowd surrounding the gray spider. Hey, you bastards, stop doing such shameful acts. The assistant writer exclaimed. 5. The crowd immediately showed their teeth. What's this? Isn't that the assistant writer? It's the assistant writer, right? The one who always horribly messes up grammar? Why has that hamster's apostle, who chews up books, suddenly popped up? Did she think she's something for slightly helping in the plan to subjugate the magic tower? Everyone, shut up. With a voice that didn't lose to the murmuring of the crowd, the assistant writer shouted. And then she immediately continued. First off, one thing. Whoever said I get grammar wrong, let's see later. I can't tolerate such distorted information spreading. But what's even less tolerable is, you guys, aren't you embarrassed? The assistant writer raised her voice. If you want revenge, plan it yourself and gather strength to take revenge. If you want to bully those you've hunted yourself. The assistant writer looked at the gray spider lying prostrate and the various pieces of trash scattered around her, grinding her teeth. But what is this? If you personally hunted the magic tower, the witches, the gray spider, I wouldn't say a word, whatever you did. But you didn't, did you? What the hell are you doing to someone else's prey? There was a moment of silence among the crowd. Just for a moment. The overwhelming majority of the crowd blushed. Someone among them, whose face was not visible because of a mask, blushed behind their mask. A masked warrior, carrying a huge spear that looked like it had torn off a dragon's horn, stepped forward. Very impressive, Assistant Writer SSI. The masked warrior spoke in a voice tinged with metal. Really impressive. A true hero. You've said it all, the right words, the correct words, the nice words, the ultimate words. It would be perfect if we now run away in shame to find a mouse hole, but what to do? It only makes me angry. Is it because I'm a blockhead? Yes. Don't agree so straightforwardly. Well. You're so self-assured that those who can't even show up, huh? The masked warrior banged the end of their spear on the ground with a thud. For 1,000 years. For a full 1,000 years, the magic tower has dominated this 50th floor. The oppression got stronger, and this 50th floor, and the towers that arrived on the 50th floor, were sucked dry by the roots of the magic tower. Voices erupted from all sides, saying, "That's right. Assistant Writer SSI. Don't you see that pain and suffering in your eyes? That's right." People who had to pass through alleys in silence, not to catch the eye of the magic tower. Those who lost their families or something more precious to those witches and still had to keep silent. Don't you see or feel such people? Right. Right. Assistant Writer SSI. You speak words of morality, but that's because you have the power to speak them. What about the powerless? The weak? Even in such a moment, they should think not of venting but just keep their mouths shut, act as if they don't exist. Is that what you're saying? Right. 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 Trying to gag the already powerless victims like that. Isn't that an unjust and cruel act? Right. 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 With each rebuke of the masked warrior, a wildfire of cheers erupted. Even regular hunters who had not participated in the Anti-Magic Alliance raised their voices.
Whoa.
The plaza turned into a cauldron of frenzy. And the assistant writer poured cold water on that cauldron. I really appreciate listening to the shitty nonsense of an extra. The masked warrior flinched. The crowd also fell silent for a moment. Over that silence, the assistant writer slowly walked. Standing in front of the masked warrior, the assistant writer looked straight into the 2 holes in the mask. Remember this, you bastard. The assistant writer, like a cat stretching, bent her waist and raised her head, bringing her face close to the masked warrior's mask as she murmured. Even if you were 10 times, 100 times stronger than you are now, even if you were as strong as the combined might of the magic tower, I would have still stood in front of you and said you're talking bullshit. The assistant writer pressed the tip of her finger against the nose of the masked warrior's mask as she spoke. That's why I was dragged to the magic tower. The masked warrior's mask heated up red. Ow, hot damn, the assistant writer hastily removed her finger, showing a flustered face, as if the mask emitted physical heat. The masked warrior spoke in a voice that resembled lava overflowing from a mountain slope. No, that's not it. You were dragged away because Hamustra suddenly disappeared. Because you lost your backing, because your power weakened. It's the same now. Now that you have the Death King or whatever as your backing, you're all. And one more thing to add. In fact, it was 2 things, she murmured. How do you even wear that mask? It's damn hot. And then the assistant writer lightly licked the tip of her burned finger. Even if you were 1,000 times, 10,000 times stronger than you are now. Even if you were as strong as the magic tower multiplied, you would have just been a one-time extra, appearing only to show how strong the protagonist has become. The masked warrior shut his mouth. The assistant writer shifted her gaze away from the masked warrior. Her glasses, sharpened along with her gaze, turned towards the surrounding crowd. Let's not do embarrassing things. If the masked warrior's speech grew louder as he spoke, the assistant writer's was the opposite. Her voice gradually diminished. You guys are hunters, aren't you? It was a soft voice. Aren't you the ones who decided to climb the tower with your own feet because you wanted to go somewhere bigger than where you were born and raised, because you wanted to see something different from the scenery you always saw? Her diminishing voice turned into a lament. I was like that. There might be bastards who climbed because they had nowhere else to be, and idiots who can't catch the timing, climbing while representing their world or whatever. But I don't know about such grand things. I always knew only about myself, thought only about myself. Maybe that's why she believed in the constellation, like the director who resembled herself. People are drawn to what resembles them, the assistant writer murmured. She said. I came here to write my story. Her glasses, drooping along with her eyes, scanned the crowd. Aren't you the same? Her gaze, returning from scanning the crowd, turned towards me. In that gaze was not anger, but regret, a sunset of the heart that tends to seep out when recalling past conversations. Looking back at the still prostrate gray spider, the assistant writer said. Does this look like something protagonists should do? Once upon a time. The apostle of Hamustra, who had murmured, after all, I'm not the protagonist of this story, shivered her shoulders as she murmured. It's not. Let's be the protagonist now, at least a bit. And then. There was an echo to those words. Well said. It was the voice of the followers of the Sword Emperor sect. The Sword Emperor sect must have been the ones who suffered the most cruel treatment from the magic tower, more than anyone else. However, they did not even glance at the witches of the magic tower's first branch, awkwardly standing on the glass bridge. The same was true for the prostrate gray spider. The followers of the Sword Emperor sect walked over and stood beside the assistant writer. That's right. It's a hitting truth too. Many would feel like hitting someone, honestly, I feel the same. But, still, a right thing is a right thing. The followers of the Sword Emperor sect turned around in unison. The followers, lined up beside the assistant writer with their arms crossed, spoke. If it weren't for the Death King, this hunt wouldn't have been successful. As such, it would be against the principles of righteousness for us to make more fuss about this matter. The Death King would have said the same. The crowd began to shrink back. Bei Hurayong spoke. Well, after 150 years, they've grown a bit. That was the beginning. I think the same. This isn't fair. The jester, who was the only one to have killed me on this 50th floor, walked out and stood beside the assistant writer and the followers of the Sword Emperor sect, uttering those words. Damn, it's over. The berserker who clicked her tongue followed suit. Paparazzo and the other high-ranking members of the Anti-Magic Alliance followed. Lastly, the Mayhos army commander walked up and turned into a corner of the human barrier, blocking off the gray spider and the crowd. The assistant writer looked slightly bewildered. Why are you here? You told me to act wisely. I'm here because the tide is in our favor. Although Mayhos is known to prefer winning fights over just ones, in truth, he likes fights that are both just and victorious. That so? You're both an idiot and trash. But a trash who fights well. Yes. That's why I'll accept your proposal. Let's go to the 51st floor together. It's an honor. As the human barrier solidified, the fervor of the crowd slowly subsided. However, it wasn't dispersing but rather settling down, like steam gathering under a pressure cooker. The masked warrior exploded. Damn it! Your words are forced. Then are you saying that victims who can't take revenge by their own strength should just keep their mouths shut for life? We never said that. I'm also one of those victims. One of the followers of the Sword Emperor sect spoke up. He raised his head. You there. The spokesperson for the Magic Tower. The spokesperson for the Magic Tower, who had been nervously watching the situation, hiccuped. Yes? You killed my disciple. Anger can be hot, but it can also be cold. The anger of the Sword Emperor sect follower was cold not due to a lack of heat, but because it was filled with rage. He was talented and light-hearted, living life easily, but perhaps for that reason, he couldn't die easily. For nearly 10 days, inside a glass tube, he died a horrible death, his bones crushed throughout his body. The spokesperson for the Magic Tower mumbled, avoiding eye contact.
Ha!
That's truly a regrettable event. My condolences. But why mention this now? Clean your neck and wait. Excuse me? I will come to the lion world as soon as I'm ready. To challenge you to a duel, is that all right, Death King? Yes. That's how it was. Now, at last, I began to speak. Hey. Who would, and how could anyone stop a fair duel? I humbly smiled. I would stop an invasion led by an army, but a duel? I have no right to prevent that. However, if you happen to die in that duel, I won't be able to help you under the same logic, right? That's only natural. One who isn't prepared to die has no right to seek the death of another. The follower of the Sword Emperor sect nodded and glared at the spokesperson for the Magic Tower. Wait for it.
Ha!
The spokesperson for the Magic Tower ground his teeth. This is something. I underestimated you too. You think you can win in a one-on-one fight? I'll make sure to thoroughly teach you that's a misconception. Dying at the hands of the same person who killed your disciple, what a celebratory event for your sect. Yes. I'll certainly make it a memorable death. You may be able to do that. Then my disciple. And then that disciple will come after you. Until my lineage is severed or you lose your life. No, damn it. Let's not do this. Mercy. Peace. Anti-war. Blood only begets blood, and revenge only leads to more revenge. Can't we just forget and forgive? Sorry. The follower of the Sword Emperor sect laughed, showing his teeth. I'm not strong enough for that. The spokesperson for the Magic Tower hiccuped. 4. And so, it was the beginning. 5. The witches of the magic tower each received their respective duel challenges, according to the years they had served. Some received none, but most got more than 3. The spokesperson, in particular, groaned upon receiving a whopping 107 duel challenges. Damn it. This is all because you guys dumped the spokesperson role on me. Because I was at the forefront, I drew all this aggro. Hey, other branch heads. If you have a conscience, you should take some of these. But do you even have a conscience? No, of course not. Damn bitches. Karamu, who had escaped with me, sighed in relief. Phew. Lucky I was stuck deep inside cleaning. This is the big picture. Be careful, Karamu SSI. I patted Karamu on the shoulder, offering advice. After all, one cannot escape the life they've lived. What the heck? What is this strange realism I feel in Gongja SSI's words? And so, 15 days passed. Krorong. It was the sound of the last remaining spire on the 50th floor crumbling down. The whip that descends on the self-abuser is released from its seal. The pillar that had been supporting the center of the spire toppled over with a wobble. From a distance, it looked like a giant nail. As soon as the nail-like iron core touched the ground, it shattered like glass. Yoo. From within the broken pillar, a woman with red hair slowly opened her bleary eyes. Where am I? Unee. The berserker sprinted at supersonic speed. Bang! A sound that shouldn't be made when two humans collide was heard, but fortunately one of them was not a human but a constellation. The red-haired constellation lightly embraced the berserker. Oh. Oh my. Uni. My constellation Uni. Sob, I'm sorry for being late. Sorry for being late. I said to wait just 3 years. But 300 years have passed. I'm a fool, an idiot, a crazy piece of trash. I should have died. Should have been dead. Couldn't even die. Coward. Sob, I'm sorry. The constellations sealed in the magic tower were released.
Ah.
This self-deprecating. Yes. Definitely my apostle. The red-haired constellation patted the berserker's back. The berserker, who had longed for this reunion, buried her face in her god's shoulder, crying, sob, smearing snot, wah, and finally wailed with spittle flying, wah. The red-haired constellation wiped the berserker's cheek with a troubled expression. Don't be so filthy, please. Thank
you.
Death King. With her cheeks as red as her god's hair, the berserker spoke to me. It's all thanks to you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have met Uni again. Thank you, sob, even though I thought you were a damn dog-like bastard, turns out you're a cute dog-like good guy. My goodness. I sheathed my holy sword. My body hadn't fully recovered yet, and even just cutting down a single pillar of the spire left my shoulder feeling stiff. Is that the only adjective you know how to use? What? Puppies are cute, aren't they? I suppose that's true, but still. Chapter 313, The Next World, 3. A lot of things happened over the course of a fortnight. The constellation, the whip that descends on the self-abuser, has regained its stars. The constellation, fist holding the sun, is recruiting new followers for the first time in 233 years. The constellation, guardian of the southeast gate, has been released from its seal. The constellation, claws scratching the night sky, has been released from its seal. The constellation, failed monologue, has been released from its seal. Firstly, the 5 constellations sealed by the magic tower were liberated. Not all constellations were fortunate enough to have admirable followers like the berserker. For periods ranging from 900 to 200 years, these constellations had been sealed. Some constellations, once glorious, had declined to the point of having not even a single follower left. The last follower who served me died 302 years ago, muttered one constellation. It was a beautiful constellation with black hair. The hair was so long that it flowed across the entire room's carpet. The claws scratching the night sky, true to its alias, looked up into the void with eyes that resembled the night sky. Originally, I was a minor constellation. What kind of authority do you have? There's not much to call an authority. If, in your life, you've ever laid in bed, or not in bed, and stretched out your hand towards the night sky, attempting to scratch it with your fingernails, that act would be considered faith towards me. How about it? The constellation of the night sky smiled silently. Not so minor, is it? No, it's amazing. Not like pretending to be a god or anything. Why would the gray spider seal such a constellation? Who knows? She must have had her own reasons. Maybe she was annoyed every time a message about me appeared when stretching towards the night sky. Or perhaps she coveted my power because I'm a constellation. Maybe it was to keep me alive. Really? Either way, I don't hate her. The constellation, who until a few days ago was nailed to a cross and drained of magic for hundreds of years, gazed out the window with a shadowed look. Hatred is a potent energy. Both the sender and the receiver become more distinct. Just like love, greed, or hope, it keeps someone who should die alive. The Death King. Our Savior. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. I nodded, recalling the eternity of 4,000 days. I understand. I locked eyes with the night sky's gaze. I know well. Many things happened. The spiders lost their spire but gained a mountain-like arena, and additionally, the right to migrate to the lion world. The snail race demonstrated their architectural prowess, creating living quarters for the spiders. The destinations for migration varied. Some wanted to live in the new continent, some in Raviol's empire, others in Babylon, and so on. Most of them are magicians who have lived for over 100 years. They are high-quality talents. The Black Dragon Witch, who had always suffered from a perpetual shortage of manpower, rejoiced. Can we recruit these people as we please? There's no particular issue. Just don't stop anyone who challenges them to a duel. What does that mean? I explained. After hearing the whole story, the Black Dragon Witch lamented. Why can't we have people who are both morally and skillfully competent in any world? I know I shouldn't be the one to say this. I'm here, aren't I?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be the one to say that. The Black Dragon Witch lay down and sighed deeply. All right. I've said it before, but I'm not in a position to judge others. Anyway, you've worked hard. Is everything fine here? Focus on your own problems. We'll handle issues here. That's right, isn't it? Hamustra said he wanted to gather our achievements and create a spin-off. No, what's that? I've entered the mukbang genre. How about Black Dragon Food Fighter for the title? It's a story about me traveling through various worlds and just eating delicious food. It'll sell, right? Seriously, what? I can see why Anastasia needs some healing. Please take it easy and rest. I'm leaving now. So, whether Black Dragon Food Fighter will be created or not remains to be seen, but the competition to recruit the witch race definitely heated up. Even considering the unavoidable life or death duel requests, the magicians were undoubtedly valuable talents. I'll offer you double the salary of any offer you've received so far. The final winner of this competition was the Count. Moreover, in our alliance, there are talented individuals from the entire elf race. It's like having a host of capable subordinates ready to be commanded. Black Dragon, 10,000 Temple, all good places with their own merits. But why should one go there to work themselves to death under the pretense of responsibility? I swear my loyalty. Wah. King. Right. You understand what I'm saying. But could you cry like a cat for me? Meow. Meow. And, could you please protect my life too? I really don't want to do any duels. That's impossible. Damn it. Thus, some of the spiders who had originally sworn allegiance to the magic tower, then to me, switched their loyalty to the alliance. All within a mere fortnight. Isn't that a prime example of the unpredictability of life? However, there were spiders who didn't align themselves with anyone. How could I do that? Naturally, it was the former leader of the old magic tower, the gray spider. Do you have any plans? I have a responsibility to bear. The gray spider spoke while drinking plain water from a paper cup. Have you seen the duel requests that came for me? Yes. I nodded, recalling the considerable amount of paper that made me seriously worry about the scarcity of trees on the 50th floor. There were a lot. Yes. And they will keep coming. I have to accept them. To tie up loose ends. That's the only way to move forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? The gray spider's words had a double meaning. Among those who sent duel requests, there would definitely be people who couldn't sleep unless they ripped apart the gray spider's silk or saw her dead body. People who would feel hot water as cold until they witnessed her demise. People who couldn't move forward a single step without settling their score with the gray spider in some way. Yes. Again, I nodded, recalling the eternity of 4,000 days. I understand what you mean. And so, the gray spider chose the vast, empty wasteland as her new nest. Anyone who bore a grudge against her could come there to request a duel. She would hardly have days alone. But if ever that day comes, even if 1,000 years pass 1,000 times, it may still seem far off, but if really, someday, there comes a day when no one seeks her out from morning till night. If she is granted the luxury of sipping a cup of water for an hour in the stretched sunlight of midday, only then would the gray spider be able to move on. To rise from the place she had stayed for 1,000 years and finally head towards the next world. I asked her, "What would you like to do when that day comes?" The gray spider smiled. In that smile, I recalled someone. Someone who knew they could die at any moment and therefore didn't put on airs or feel regret anymore. There was a pure brightness born from complete acceptance in that smile. Who knows? If I'm that lucky. The gray spider looked upwards. It was night time, and the place she had chosen to stay had no ceiling, so the starry night spread infinitely above. The gray spider reached out with her dry fingers towards it. If I'm that lucky, I could climb the tower. The tower. You're going to try again? I've decided not to wait any longer. I didn't ask any more questions. The gray spider didn't say anything more either. The three of us just looked up at the same night sky. 7. The fortnight flowed as it should. My work was concluded with arranging part-time jobs at Café Planetarium for Hamustra's followers. Seeing Hamustra dressed as a cafe employee, the assistant writer screamed in delight. "I've missed you, librarian." Eek. What's this? I really wonder what this is all about. Hamustra looked at me with a rotten gaze, as if to blame me. There was somewhat sufficient reason for that, considering that 10 of his followers simultaneously grabbed him and affectionately rubbed their cheeks against his. Given Hamustra's small stature, it would be fair to describe the current situation as a hamster stuck between couch cushions. King. Did you ever mention that these people are no different from stalkers or even something more terrifying? The hamster complained as his cheeks stretched out. You saved people who are connected to you, and I appreciate that, but I never asked you to bring them directly like this. We'll never let you go, librarian. We'll be together forever. I'll end my life working here as a part-timer. Living as a human is indeed tough and arduous. Well, that's good. That's very good. Of course, there were those who didn't fare so well. And I'm not talking about Hamustra. The commander of the Mayhew's army asked the assistant writer. Wait a moment. Assistant writer. Weren't you supposed to climb the 51st floor with me? Huh? Screw that. The assistant writer's tongue responded before her brain. The commander of the Mayhew's army was disappointed. The assistant writer fumbled as she looked at him. No, it's just... There's something more important than life. What's that? Being a fan. Another person with rotten eyes was added to the planetarium. The assistant writer was rather indignant. What? This is a line that only the real protagonist can say. Enjoy your happy fandom. While the people under the sky reached out to touch the edges of the world, cautiously searching for a place to lean on, stand for a while, or pass by, the constellations in the sky came to me. I've thought a lot about how to repay you. Claws scratching the night sky, spoke as a representative of the constellations. It wasn't just me pondering, the other 12 constellations discussed it too. To decide on a reward for a hunter, and that too one who has just reached the 50th floor. It's unprecedented. It's thanks to you that I was able to reunite with my cute little one. The whip that descends on the self-abuser, added, gently touching the night sky's hair spread on the floor. I thought about giving you a great weapon, but the holy sword at your waist already looks more impressive. Honestly, you don't seem like the type to have material desires, which made it difficult. But, said, Claws scratching the night sky. You claim to be the successor of the Sword Emperor. Fortunately, some of us knew what kind of gift the Sword Emperor would appreciate. The night sky clasped its hands together. May this be the right answer for you. Whoosh. A soft light enveloped my body. The constellation, Claws scratching the night sky, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 50th floor stage has been cleared. As my vision gradually whitened. I hope someday a constellation will create a quest just for you. Death King. Although we are not your dedicated constellations. The existence of such constellations, it's a very happy thing. The voice continued. The constellation, the whip that descends on the self-abuser, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 51st floor stage has been cleared. And it continued. The constellation, the eye living in the labyrinth, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 52nd floor stage has been cleared. Constellations that participated in the Anti-Magic Alliance. The constellation, the bell that mourns the dead, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 53rd floor stage has been cleared. One by one, those with the authority to judge whether a hunter is qualified to ascend to the next floor. The constellation, the last sword in the wilderness, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 54th floor stage has been cleared. They formed a unified voice and spoke to me. The constellation, fist holding the sun, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 55th floor stage has been cleared. The constellation, guardian of the southeast gate, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 56th floor stage has been cleared. The constellation, failed monologue, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 57th floor stage has been cleared. The constellation, the lone seeker of truth, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 58th floor stage has been cleared. The constellation, the incarnation of love and lust, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 59th floor stage has been cleared. The constellation, the warhorse of the eternal planes, acknowledges the completion of your quest. The 60th floor stage has been cleared. Finally, your existence becomes even more distinct. The level of the Death King increases. Your skill slot expands. The next world colored my vision. Your hunter rank is now S-class. May luck be with you. Chapter 314, I'm a fan, 1. Even if it's only 3 times, that's enough for me. In my life, please let me do as I wish. In exchange, take everything I have. I stayed up all night, and looking back, there was only one choice left. 2. Are you the Death King? Such an extravagant alias. So grandiose it's almost laughable. Remember this. I am one of the 13 evil exterminators. The one who collapsed the eternal cliff. The master of the waves crashing against every shore, the 9th Sea Lord, the pirate general, the madman. Cham. I heard you defeated the madman Blood Sea army. Quite impressive. I heard you broke through 10 floors at once. Indeed, certainly, without a doubt, you are a sacred being, the first of its kind since the Sword Emperor. But remember this. Every constellation shining in the night sky was once called a sacred being. Allow me to introduce myself, oh. Why bother saying it? A living witness of the miracles of sacred beings. 13 evil exterminators. The pinecone that sings in the white night, the forester, and that alias too terrifying to utter. Cham. I won't speak at length. The longer the tongue, the shorter the life. Be afraid. Tremble in fear. Today, I will reveal to you one truth. Cham. Could you please spare my life? Of course, I did torment people a bit. No, quite a lot actually. Wait. Just a moment. Stop. No, it's natural for someone to become cranky living over 200, 300 years. Having enjoyed every pleasure there is, what other joy is there but to torment others besides me? No. Wait. You shouldn't go in there. No. Please wait. That bloodstain isn't human. It's true. Damn, forgot to clean up after killing. Cham. I have no regrets. You know? Torturing the living, it's really enjoyable. Cham. So, you think you're so great? Cham. Strong, aren't you? The Death King. The Sword Emperor earned the title of Emperor despite being just a hunter. What's next, a king? The tower is indeed strange. How Ran? How Sheng? How Si? If your life is inevitable, then your name too must be fated, and in this moment, my end is also not by chance. Cham. Damn it. Damn it all. I did nothing wrong. Cham. This is driving me crazy. So that's why I said from the start that all 12 of us should attack together. Why did no one listen to me until we were reduced from 12 to 3? Brothers, are you idiots? Thinking about it, you were idiots. It's a terrible trade-off, to have your throat slit because your ears were closed. Ooh ha ha ha. Death King. Don't think this is a victory. Even though the 13 evil exterminators will perish, there will be twice, 3 times more enemies to block your path. As long as our brotherhoods will continues, anytime, dash dot. Cham cham cham. Phew. I wiped the sweat off my forehead with the back of my hand. It really was a tough and lengthy battle. Shiny assesses the battle as epic like a grand drama. If it had been recorded, it would have been planned for a 102-episode series, but it became a legendary chronicle extending to parts 2, 3, and finally 4, amid love and attention. And then, due to an unfortunate incident, it would have been abruptly cancelled, becoming an even more painful legend. Shiny agrees wholeheartedly. Baehu Ryung watched our duo's self-praise with a look of disbelief. Are you guys filming a comedy? It was just cutting down 12 hunters, right? Thinking about it, why were there only 12 if they were called the 13 evil exterminators? I should have asked before cutting them down, but I forgot. Well, one of them was cut down by me 150 years ago. Indeed. Even after 150 years, they haven't replenished their ranks. Even the 60th floor suffers from a manpower shortage. As numerous hunters aspire to climb the tower, the reality of a shortage in the upper levels left me feeling bittersweet. I sheathed my holy sword. Baehu Ryung glanced over, arms crossed. He wasn't looking at me. His gaze was beyond my shoulder, towards the fortress where the 13 evil exterminators had been holed up. The fortress was ablaze, emitting plumes of smoke. Even from this distance, the acrid smell of fire wafted over. Zombie, huh? I know. I spoke nonchalantly. They're persistent. They've followed us again. It's getting on my nerves. How many days has it been? I tilted my head. About 2 weeks?
Aww.
It's stressing me out. Hey. Why don't you just go and catch them? How long are you going to ignore them? They're just following, not showing any hostility. Just looking. If they're not openly hostile, I plan to leave them be. That was the situation. I was being stalked, probably. I say probably because I really have no idea who, why, or what purpose they have in following me. What if that thing is an assassin? Baehu Ryung proposed an extreme hypothesis. Considering you spared those spiders, there must be more than a couple of people holding a grudge against you by now. If someone feels they can only survive the day by sending an assassin after me, if they're that consumed by vengeance, they'd send the assassin to the spiders they have a grudge against, not me, right? I shrugged my shoulders and started walking. Besides, just in case, I deliberately showed vulnerabilities yesterday and the day before. When I was sleeping outdoors. But it never approaches within a certain distance. That's strange. What is it? Why is it following you? Maybe it likes me. Ahaha. Must be someone with a rotten brain. At least not as rotten as someone's character. Ong? What? What's up? We walked down the forest path, bonding as usual. The mysterious X maintained a constant distance, neither closing in nor falling back. With the presence in the back of my mind, I suddenly thought. I'm thirsty. Isn't there a stream somewhere that's so refreshing it cools you to the stomach? Such a forest should have one. That's when it happened. Jol jol jol. As soon as I stepped through the forest, there was a stream, as if on cue. 2 deer-like animals were dipping their noses in the water, lapping it up. It meant the water was safe to drink. Oh. Lucky. I approached the stream nonchalantly. The deer on the other side glanced at me as if to say, "What's that ugly animal?" but I ignored them. A water bottle would have been convenient, but Homo sapiens have hands. I scooped up water with my hands and gulped it down. Kaya. So refreshing. I feel alive now. Huh? What is it? Why are you looking at me like that? Got something to say? No. It's just strange. What exactly is strange? Bae Hurayong furrowed his brow. Kim Zombie. Haven't you been too lucky these days? Excuse me? Too lucky? What do you mean? Look. Just when you're thirsty, a stream appears. It was the same yesterday, the day before, even the day before that. Actually, when I think about it, you've had strangely good luck for the past 10 days. Really? I wasn't sure. Does it make sense to find a water source wherever you go in this vast 60th floor? Bae Hurayong was passionate in his argument. And whenever you think of getting some sleep, there's always kindling nearby. It's absurd. You might not realize it, living in a world where drinking water and heating are taken for granted, but this is unreal luck? Not exactly a world taken for granted. I frowned. And I countered Bae Hurayong's argument. Sword Emperor Nim. But that's not the strange part. Because, we deliberately chose this path, knowing there was a water source in this direction, in the first place, didn't we? What? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We obtained information, in advance, that there was a stream here, and planned our route to avoid hunger and thirst. Remember, before leaving the village? Just as Bae Hurayong was about to speak. Slowly, his expression turned curious. Right. That's true. Yes. You told me that the 60th floor is vastly different from the stages we've climbed so far, that it's incredibly wide, and that we'd be lost without prior knowledge of the map and geography, so we should prepare thoroughly. That's why I gathered all that geographic information in the village. Why are you talking nonsense now? Right. That's what I said. It really was like that. Bae Hurayong crossed his arms. Why did I think your luck was strangely good? It wasn't luck but the result of thorough preparation. That's what I'm saying. Just talking about weird stuff with you made me hungry. I sent out my aura, whoosh, and caught a deer-like animal. It seemed the deerling, not used to seeing humans, didn't even have the instinct to be wary and was caught by me while drinking water. It was a simple hunt. Good thing there's meat nearby. There's dry firewood. Lucky. Let's have a barbecue today. Were the animals on the 60th floor always this docile? No. Wait a minute. Why are there ordinary animals here? If I remember correctly, this area used to be overflowing with demonic beasts. But not only demonic beasts. So, you think it's fair you get to eat something delicious alone? It's damn good. You bad guy. Good guy? Weird guy. That's when it happened. AKO Coco. From the bushes in the opposite direction we had come from, someone burst out. It was a small boy. He arrived at the stream and immediately collapsed with a thud. Oh. Holding the freshly grilled deer leg, I quickly approached the boy. Are you all right? You. Meat. Meat. The boy sniffed around with a vacant expression, as if smelling with her soul rather than her body. Apparently, the scent of the grilled deer meat had drawn her here instinctively. I couldn't help but give her the meat. Here you go. Eat slowly. You. Thank you. The boy took the leg from me and started gnawing at it hungrily. Cough. Eck, hook. W water. Oh. Here. Drink this. Fortunately, I had a water bottle with me. It was a good thing, really. If I hadn't had the water bottle, I would have had to scoop water with my hands to give to the boy, which would have been quite awkward to watch. Wah! The boy drank the water hurriedly, spilling it around her mouth. Gulping down, her throat bobbing, he finally looked relieved, as if he was going to survive. Thanks to you, I'm alive. Don't mention it. In a place like this, wanderers should help each other. If you weren't here, I would have starved to death. You're my savior. The boy shyly looked up at me, glancing at me with a lowered face. Despite wandering through the forest, the boy's attire and hair were remarkably neat. There was a sense of having endured hardship, but not a hint of being dirty, you could say. Above all, he was incredibly beautiful. Really incredibly so. Ever since meeting Raviel, I hadn't given much thought to people's appearances, but this boy slightly twisted the instinctual habit engraved in me. I smiled gently. If I could be of help, then I'm truly glad. Well, just thinking to myself. Raviel is much prettier. The boy slightly furrowed her eyebrows. Then, lowering her head, he mumbled to himself. Strange. Could it be? Yes, if it's like this. I tilted my head in confusion. Did you just say something? No. Then the boy lifted her head and beamed a bright smile. It's nothing. Her smile was radiantly cheerful. Considering the tattered state of her clothes and the numerous wounds on her body, it was hard to guess how long he had wandered in the forest, but the boy didn't lose her smile and tried her best to convey her gratitude to me. A natural cheerfulness radiated from her face. I've been remiss. I haven't even asked the name of my benefactor. Kind benefactor, could you please tell me your name? I smiled. Of course. My alias is the Death King. The Death King. Death King. The boy was startled. The Death King? Are you the one who recently cleared 10 floors all at once? Yes. That would probably be me. Wow. Amazing. What luck. The constellations were all abuzz, and I wondered who it could be. To think I'd encounter you in this forest where I was lost. Thump. The boy excitedly grabbed my hand. It's such an honor to meet you. While beaming a smile so bright it could dim the sun. I'm a fan of the Death King. Chapter 315, I'm a fan, too. A curious incident occurred. The boy who introduced himself as my fan was, surprisingly, not a hunter but a constellation. Huh. Can a constellation get lost or starve? Of course, Death King Nim. The boy smiled broadly. Constellations are very diverse, you see. Since we were headed in the same direction, we decided to travel together for a while. Walking along the quiet forest path, we chatted with rabbits and deer peeking out of the bushes as our audience. I really don't have a single follower. There was one 600 years ago, but since then, not a single one has worshipped me. Well, in conclusion, I'm living like a complete pauper. Then. I looked at the boy anew, from head to toe. Dressed in ragged clothes, he looked just like a poor kid from a neighborhood, no matter how you looked at him. At least 600 years old. Maybe even 10 times that. Constellations have a very different sense of time from hunters. Usually, they count their age up to 1,000 years, but after that, they just give up. It's meaningless, unfulfilling, and not fun. Terrifying, indeed. As a constellation, you must have an alias. What is your name? Eek. Of course, I have both an alias and a real name. It's a bit embarrassing to tell my respected Death King Nim. but I'll gather my courage and tell you. Yes. My name is. Dot. I nodded. Somehow, it felt like a good name. It seemed like a name that was made just for this boy, who was smiling brightly in front of me, fitting him really well. That's nice. Why be embarrassed? It's a wonderful name. Ah, really? Ahaha. If Death King Nim says so, then it must be true. I'm embarrassed. The boy laughed softly. His action of scratching his cheek with his index finger seemed very innocent. I looked around with a warm smile. But where was that place in this direction? Do you have a specific place you want to go? I was thinking of stopping by a city or town to get some supplies. Preferably a large town. I thought of buying at least one set of clothes for this constellation-like boy. As I was thinking this, suddenly, the boy raised his hand. If it's that place, just leave this path and you'll find it. I turned my head in the direction the boy pointed. Enhancing my vision with aura, I looked far off and indeed, just as the boy said, there was a city. Oh. You're right. We moved on. Upon arriving, it was a settlement of the perfect size, not too big, nor too small, just as I had hoped for in my mind. I entered a clothing store on the street. Clang. The wind chime on the door jingled. The middle-aged store owner, who was reading a book inside, lifted his head. Welcome. Hello. I'm looking to buy some clothes. I pointed outside the window. In the middle of the street, a small boy stood staring blankly this way. I'd like to buy clothes that would suit that child. Something comfortable for moving around. Do you have anything nice? A child? The owner looked out the window, puzzled. Where's the child you're talking about? Right there. The boy dressed almost in rags. Sorry, but I don't see anyone. I don't understand what you're talking about. That child. The elderly man adjusted his glasses. Was it due to presbyopia from aging? He seemed slightly embarrassed by his mistake due to his age and gave an awkward smile. Sorry about that. So, the frail child didn't work out. Did you say you wanted clothes good for activity? Just wait a bit, I'll bring them out right away. Thank you, elder. It's all part of doing business. I paid and handed the clothes to the boy. Blink. The boy looked up at me, bewildered. Death King Nim. This is a gift. A wide, white robe. It might seem prone to getting dirty due to its white color, but it was actually a magic item. It was enchanted to resist stains, including gravy. It also had warming and cooling magic and could be used as a sleeping bag if needed, plus it had plenty of pockets for storage. I thought this kind of clothing might come in handy more than just fancy clothes. Do you want to try it on? Hesitatingly, the boy put on the robe. Oh. It looks good. The innocent-looking boy matched well with the white robe. I felt a sense of pride as I looked him over from all angles. But isn't it a bit big? Everything was fine except that the robe seemed too baggy for the boy's frame, almost 1.5 times his size. That's strange. I thought it would fit perfectly. No, it's fine. This size is actually quite good for me. The girl extended his hand from the sleeve of the robe. Just moments ago, his hands were buried in the sleeves, but now they slightly overlapped his wrists. It didn't feel excessively ill-fitting. That's a relief. It must have been my mistake. I smiled warmly at the girl. Though it was brief, it was a pleasure traveling with you. be careful not to get lost in the forest next time. You can't always expect someone like me to be around. I'll be on my way now." Just as I was about to say
Goodbye.
and turn around, "De Death King Nim. Wait a moment." The girl grabbed my sleeve. "Yes? It's just..." The girl hesitated, his lips parted but his tongue seemed to lose direction, aimlessly moving inside his mouth. Once, she looked up at me and bit his teeth hard. In the girl's eyes, I caught a glimpse of numerous thoughts crossing fleetingly. So, it's... what could it be? Just as I was about to ask, someone's muttering interrupted. "I found you here." It wasn't the girl's or my voice. "I've been looking for you for a while." I swiftly turned my head in the direction of the voice, gripping the hilt of my holy sword. The voice came from precisely 12 steps away, and I hadn't noticed any sign of them coming within 12 steps. That meant something very clear. The person was an extremely skilled master. Zombie. Yes. Beihurayung also warned me in a low voice. Knowing what he was warning about, I nodded. Among the hunters I met on the 60th floor, this one is the strongest, overwhelmingly. It was a man dressed in a dark-colored robe. To think you were just hiding in a village, I wondered where you had fled. I'm not sure if you were trying to hide in the forest, but you weren't the only one who had that thought. The man was wearing a conical hat. The hat was so worn out that it had holes all over, not only failing to shield from rain and snow but also clearly revealing the man's face beneath. Through the holes in the hat, the man's eyes were glaring at me. "You're hanging around with some strange fellows. Follow me. You wouldn't want to see blood flowing in the marketplace, would you?" Squeeze. The grip on my sleeve tightened. The girl was clinging to me with a face completely stricken with fear. I subtly shifted my steps to shield the girl from the man's gaze. The man with the conical hat frowned. "What is it? I don't know who you are, nor why you want to take this child. However, the moment you ask, 'What is it?' instead of, 'Who are you?' upon first meeting someone, it already shows your character." That's an interesting thing to say. The man in the conical hat scoffed. You can judge a person's character but not their ability. Usually, such people are the first to die. It's surprising you made it to the 60th floor. Maybe it means I'm not just an ordinary person? If you can survive without your head, I'll acknowledge it. Chung. What followed in the next instant was as follows. First, the man drew his sword and swung it. A black aura swirled, cutting through the space between us in an instant. However, when the distance of 12 steps reduced to 6, my sword stroke intercepted the man's strike. The man's eyes widened in surprise. Then, swoosh. Throwing knives came flying from 3 directions, southeast, behind, and west, all relative to my position. The man wasn't alone. He had brought a group and set up an ambush. But I had already sensed the hostility of 3 people, and with a clang, intercepted the 3 knives before they could even reach within 20 steps. Huh. The man's eyes widened a bit more. A passerby, who had been walking along the street, suddenly pulled out a dagger and charged at me. He too was part of the man's group. I strengthened my right hand with aura and firmly grasped the dagger. Twisting his wrist, Kirk. I shattered his arm from the shoulder and flung him backward. That was the full story of what happened in a flash. Not bad. Eek. Only then, as if time, which had briefly stopped, began to flow again, screams erupted in the street. People belatedly realized the fight and quickly moved out of the way. Only I and the girl. The man with the conical hat and his group remained on the street. You have the skills to back up your audacious words. Well, I do have the skills to deal with audacious people. You knew who we were when you resisted, didn't you? Not really sure about that. I stroked my chin. Maybe just a bunch of scumbags trying to kidnap a powerless constellation. The expression on the man in the conical hat became increasingly interesting. Still, it was somewhat lacking in entertainment. A man's life is in his face. Let's make it a bit more fun. It seems like your organization is so broke that you can't afford a new hat, having to wear the same one all the time. Shall I sponsor you? I have enough money that it's practically overflowing. I can help out beggars like you, at least up to 4 people. 5 is a bit too much. Why don't you draw straws and drop one? Fine. I've decided. The man with the conical hat adjusted his long sword. I'll cut off your tongue and feed it to the dogs. A blade filled with ominous energy. It was clear at a glance that he was not someone who had cultivated aura by ordinary means. De Death King Nim. From behind, I heard the girl's anxious voice. Whether it was okay to seek help in this situation, or if she was being a burden. Torn between these two emotions, I gently winked at her to reassure him. It's okay. The girl hung her head low. Meanwhile, the man with the conical hat assumed a stance. I am the leader of the blood demon religion, the blood demon. Huh? I blinked in surprise. Blood demon? That's right. The blood demon religion? So, like a demonic cult? But with the character for blood added in front? Precisely. The man with the conical hat smiled bitterly. It seemed he was satisfied with my reaction. It's too late for regrets now. Of course, if you cut off your own tongue as penance, I might forgive you. Live the rest of your life tongueless, repenting your arrogance. I am magnanimous towards those who can criticize themselves. What? It's like a complete pseudo-religious cult? Abruptly, the man with the conical hat stopped speaking. I was dumbfounded. Since when do pseudo-cult leaders go around calling themselves Grand Masters? Blood demon? Religion? If it's a demonic cult, then call it that. If it's a devil cult, then say so. What's with this blood demon nonsense? What? Hey. Who gave you permission to attach demonic cult to your group's name? Now I see you're not just beggars. I misspoke. Even the dog faction has more dignity than you. You know? Even if the dog faction picks a fight with you for being nobodies, the officials will side with them. And Blood Demon is a title for horses. One of the horses I own is called Blood Demon. It's not even a title for a leader, but a mere moniker used under subordinates. TSK. How dare you arrogantly call yourself a grandmaster? Want to be punished? Want to get hit? You. Anyway, those who come up from the martial arts world often lack manners. Please act according to your level, really. Now, let's start the appraisal. Listen carefully. First, remove demon from your signboard. And remove religion too. I'll acknowledge you up to blood sect. I will kill you. The man's face twisted like a malevolent spirit. I will surely kill you. No. Why is the leader of a pseudo-cult getting angry? The one who farted is the one throwing a tantrum. Chapter 3:16, I'm a fan, 3. 4. The fight with the blood demon was truly a scene of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. 5. I blinked my eyes. Huh. What just happened? It felt as though an eternity had passed, yet it also seemed like only a moment had gone by. If humans have a sense of measuring time, it felt as though it was momentarily paralyzed. To give a rough example, it was exactly the feeling of having received anesthesia for treatment from an alchemist. Death King. Death King. Please come to your senses, Death King. Before I knew it, I was lying down. It was hard to know since when, why, or where I was lying. I can't remember well. What's clear is the face of the person sobbing in front of me. A boy, a very familiar boy, is clinging to my hands, as if he's about to burst into tears any moment. Are you okay? Please, come to your senses? Here. During the fight with the blood demon, you were injured. Cowardly, while fighting one-on-one, the elites of the blood demon religion joined in. The boy wiped his tears with my sleeve. It seemed like his tear ducts were broken, exaggerating a bit. His tears were flowing incessantly, making me worried as I watched. Fight. Injuries. You shouldn't move recklessly. The boy urgently stopped me as I tried to get up. Your internal injuries are severe, Death King. You must rest now. Your body is a complete mess, your bones are shattered, and your insides are tattered. Just a moment ago, I was scared you might never open your eyes again. That moment. Just as the boy said, a severe pain surged throughout my body. I tried to circulate my aura to check the condition of my body, but crunch. My meridian twisted. Crunch. It was the pain of a thorny club poking inside my blood vessels. KHH. What should I do? How should I handle this? What to do? It hurts. I feel like dying. My eyes are getting dry. My cheeks feel cold. Sensation evaporates from my fingertips. Pain. Only pain remains. It felt as if someone was peeling off my skin, layer by layer, like peeling an orange. There must be no human who can endure this pain. Only because I have died enough to die. For a moment. From beyond consciousness, a breathy voice fluttered. Really, what should I do? Fade to black. I opened my eyes. Again, it felt as though a long time had passed, yet it seemed like I had only sighed. The difference from before I lost consciousness was that my mind felt somewhat clearer. And the boy, wearing an apron, was on his way with a tray of porridge. Please have some. Gongja. The constellation fed me with an invisible spoon in an empty bowl. The boy scooped up the porridge with a wooden spoon and fed me. How does it taste? The constellation looked at me expressionlessly. The girl smiled affectionately. I've made your favorite porridge on this rare occasion. The constellation whispered softly. The boy hesitated. Does it taste okay? The scent of anchovies filled my mouth. When I was sick as a child, the director would grate apples for me. Then, he would cook white rice porridge with small anchovies added. The grated apple tasted different from the usual apples, and the porridge tasted different from the usual as well. The bloated anchovies were tasteless, but if you kept chewing, they would crunch and sometimes taste subtly nutty. Yes. It's delicious. That's a relief. The constellation smiled, lifting the corners of his mouth. The girl sighed in relief. It was a real crisis. I merely wished for an enemy to block Gongja's path to appear, but suddenly a formidable enemy emerged. It seems Gongja believes that, if they are not that strong, they cannot block him, from the depths of his unconscious. Yes? The constellation spoke casually. The boy slightly tilted his head in confusion. I didn't say anything just now, Gongja? Right. More importantly, why were you so angry at the blood demon? Even when attacked, you were composed, but suddenly became agitated at the mention of the blood demon religion. Honestly, it surprised me a bit. Oh. My mind was foggy. Because I am the young master of a place called the demonic cult. Aha. I place significance on the two words, demonic cult. I think it's a name that should not be casually called. The thought of riffraff casually mentioning a group similar to the demonic cult makes my blood boil. I see. I see. The constellation rested his chin on his hand and gazed at me intently. The girl nodded with attentive eyes. So to speak, that's Gongja's sore spot. I'm curious about this demonic cult. If it holds such a great meaning to you, there must have been someone precious. Would you tell me your story? Aha. You had a master. Named Seo Baekhyang. Lonely, but clear, it seems like a fragrance that lingers at the tip of your nose. You're in love with a person named ClassRevivalHunter. Is she that beautiful?
Ah.
I see. So, that's why no matter how hard I tried, you never fell for any beauty tricks. How troublesome. Being in love with someone is the easiest and most powerful way. If someone is deeply engraved in your heart to this extent, twisting it will only have the opposite effect. How scary. How frightening. I must be careful. Huh. Did I say something just now? Yes? No. The constellation gently caressed my cheek. The boy gave a faint smile. Gongja, you haven't said anything, have you? Is that so? Indeed. But the existence of the Sword Emperor is a bit of a hindrance. Bei Hurayong, huh? Having such a thing attached, it must have taken a long time to be captivated by my power. What to do? Removing it will distance me too much from the current Gongja. No choice then. Yes. It's a bit tiring, but I will take care of both of you. Whoosh. An arrow flew before my eyes. Hey, Kim Zombie. What are you doing? Bei Hurayong shouted incredulously. Are you slacking off during a fight, thinking you're some high and mighty expert who can afford to be careless?
Ah.
Right. Currently, we were raiding the stronghold of the blood demon religion, during the midst of eradicating the enemy. Because, somehow, I ended up attacking this place. Gongja. I turned my head towards the direction of the voice. Over here. The girl. I had encountered her by chance in the forest 15 days ago, and though she was once a constellation, she had now lost all her powers, along with the demonic cults including the 13 evils, residing on the 60th floor. In this stage, not only the blood demon religion but also the god demon cult, white demon cult, and mad demon cult, collectively referred to as the four demons, existed. And they were all trying to kidnap this boy for their nefarious purposes. Like the magic tower. I had been bedridden a few days ago and was unable to prevent the girl from being kidnapped. That was something I absolutely could not tolerate. Please help. My eyes snapped open at the boy's scream. Yes. What is there to hesitate about? Deep within this fortress, the girl is tied to a pillar with iron chains. Whether she has lived for thousands of years or was a constellation, the child is fragile now. A fragile being. Someone must protect her. That someone has become me. Yes. You awaken in such a manner. In the back of my mind. No, at the bottom of my consciousness. Perhaps from the highest skies, a distant voice echoed. What will you do now? I will save the boy. I answered firmly. Answered? No, countless arrows flew at me from the fortress-like stronghold, and I struggled to fend them off one by one. Because you still haven't fully recovered from the internal injuries you sustained in the fight with the blood demon. And yet, do you really intend to save the boy? Yes. Then the blood demon comes out and asks, to think you plan to oppose us with a body no better than a rag, it's beyond ridiculous. Are you seeking death? It seems the blood demon was also injured in the last fierce battle, but look around him, there are hundreds of trustworthy subordinates lined up. This can't be happening. Eventually, one arrow flies and embeds itself in your thigh. Throbbing. Pain surged from my thigh. It hurt. I almost fell to my knees. What will you do? Swing your sword again? The constellation slowly stroked my thigh. The boy sobbed, shouting my voice. Yes. Really? At this rate, you might really die, you know? The constellation chuckled. The boy burst into tears. Arrows continue to cover the sky, plunging down towards you. I dodge them. Yes, you are strong. Your aura is capable of covering the sky, blocking the rain of arrows. But at that moment, the internal injuries you had suffered flare up with excruciating pain. Crunch. The pain of bones being torn apart surged through my body. Kook. Does it hurt? Guh. Damn. I'll ask again. Does it hurt? Damn, these bastards. Being so insolent. Shooting arrows. One last question. Death King. Where, how, and how much does it hurt? Please answer. I would be pleased if you could. It's tormenting. My body. As if, no. Actually burning. Now, when I should be resting and recuperating, my meridians and energy pathways are overused, pulling up aura beyond their limits, causing my body to burn from my own aura. Normally, the aura should first protect the bones, blood vessels, muscles, and nerves before being utilized. But in this situation, I have no capacity to protect myself. My veins burst with fury, burning all my muscles as if lava was flowing out. The aura accumulated in the blood vessels, melting the bones into a mushy state. Oh, my. The constellation reveled in my pain. The girl cried out at the sight of my agony. How could this be? The breath was venomous. How can you imagine pain so vividly? HNN. Kook. I merely mentioned getting hit by an arrow, Gongja. I simply presented the situation you would face if you came to save me after I was kidnapped. But how can you imagine it so vividly, to this extent? It seemed as though someone murmured, incredible. Amazing. It's as if you've really experienced a painful death. But that's impossible. It can't be. How can you imagine it? Have your bones melted before? Have your veins completely burned away? How do you know such pain, to reproduce it under my power like this? I advanced, bearing the pain. Arrows flew and embedded themselves in my shoulder and forearm. But I ignored them. Pulling up aura to its limits, I stepped forward and cut through the group from the blood demon religion that had tied the child to the pillar. It's certain. The constellation reached out with both hands and grasped my cheeks. The boy was sobbing, tightly bound to the pillar. You are indeed the person I've been waiting for thousands of years. Just a little more. For someone you've known for only a few days, you throw your life away, face pain worse than death, and not just in words or out of ignorance, but knowing what death and pain are, yet you still advance to the end. Just a little more. With you, I believe you could imagine any quest I set. If I say you are in danger of dying in the middle of the sea, you would actually be in the sea. You would drown. It's completely different from those mediocre hunters who flatter. You would truly imagine every crisis, every pain, every death, as it is. I've been waiting only for someone like you to come. Finally. My blade struck the blood demon. Blood splattered. You are my third follower. I will create quests for you. I will continue the campaign. I will create a world where you can feel achievement and joy. I will become a god just for you. I only wish for one thing. That you, Gongja, believe in me. A bright smile illuminated beyond the blood. Will you believe in me? Invites you to faith. Will you accept as your constellation? Darkness engulfed my vision. Chapter 317, The Time Frontline of Two People, 1. Congratulations. Is your constellation. You are the only follower of. It felt like I had a dream. A dream that wasn't mine, but someone else's. The dream felt both long and short, making my sense of time become disordered. It was as if I was standing in the middle of a stream, with the water wrapping around my waist on both the right and left sides, each flowing past at its own, different speed. A sensation of being consumed by time. Tick. A day had passed. Or, it felt like a day had passed. This seems to be a screwed situation. No, it's no use talking about it now. I'm also under the control of a power. Even if I say something now, it will distort your memory, and surprisingly, it would distort mine as well. What are you talking about? Telling you is pointless, which is a very obvious truth of life. Zombie. I'm telling you that you've changed from a physical zombie to a temporal zombie. What are you talking about? What to do about this? It's quite nasty. Bei Hurayong muttered expressionlessly. If it was just memory distortion, there would be many ways to deal with it. But this seems to be world manipulation. Indeed, beyond the 60th floor, it's full of perverted lunatics. It's lamentable why a pervert is attached to you, but thinking about it, it's fitting. Zombie, this kid, has all the qualities that make the perverts of the universe drool and cling to him. So, what exactly are you talking about? What to do? Bei Hurayong's eyes sank. Ignoring my question, Bei Hurayong immersed himself in his own world. How do we deal with this nasty bastard? At that moment. Master? A very familiar voice gently caught and led my ears. Following the direction of the voice, I naturally turned my head and saw a lovely beyond words boy tilting his head. Is there something you're worried about? An anxious complexion. Worried eyes. The boy's every expression and gaze, perhaps even his existence, was flickering like a candle. I wanted to protect that fragile and pitiful thing. It's nothing. Just. Hey. Don't ever talk about me. Let's see what happens. My mind is blank. My mouth felt dry. The fact that I had to lie to this pure boy, that I had to hide something from him, my only constellation and unique God, brought on an unimaginably deep sense of guilt. The boy smiled with his eyes. Is that so? Master, you think a lot. Thinking a lot is a sign of a kind person, I think. Saying that, the boy leaned his head on my forearm. The pleasant scent wafted to my nose. It was a fragrance I really liked, not from this place but somewhere else, from someone else, a deeply green fragrance. As I was enjoying this happy moment, Bei Hurayong spoke for the first time in days. This seems to be a screwed situation. No, it's no use talking about it now. I'm also under the control of a power. Even if I say something now, it will distort your memory, and surprisingly, it would distort mine as well. What are you talking about? Are you hearing what I said for the first time? What are you talking about? I knew you were not normal from the start, but you've never been as weird as today. Do you miss the gray spider? Sword Emperor Nim. Loneliness is an incurable disease. Good. Fuck. Very good. Bei Hurayong smirked. Even without knowing what I said, you have the ability to automatically erase any memory or event that interferes with your power. No doubt about it. It's definitely a 5-star constellation. Please, I beg you, try to act a little. If you hadn't become a hunter, you might have been an actor, or zombie. Is it too much to expect a small miracle from you, where you don't show on your face whatever I ramble on about? Have I expected too much from the world? It feels quite unpleasant, but for now, I'll grant you that miracle. Thank you so much. Tick. A day had passed. We've finally defeated the remnants of the blood demon cult. Master. The boy was delighted. To think that the mad demon cult, white demon cult, and god demon cult were connected to the blood demon cult from behind. And that the ultimate boss called the heavenly demon was hiding as the leader of your forces. Unforgivable. Because, to Master, the title of heavenly demon is more than just a name. You can't forgive them either, right? That's right. I am currently traveling with the boy on the 61st floor. It feels as though a week has passed in the blink of an eye. How dare they falsely claim similar names to the demonic cult in 4 places, and even misuse the name of the heavenly demon? They are brutal bastards. During this time, we've been defeating the false demonic cults. We defeated the blood demon, and destroyed the cult that kidnapped the boy. While rescuing the boy, I learned several things. That he was a constellation that had lost his power. That he was on the verge of extinction because he didn't have even a single believer. I will become your believer. I told him that. The boy cried and hugged me, saying that he would become my own constellation. Even though he had no power, he would create quests solely for Master. So, let's keep our spirits up until the day we reach the 100th floor, just the 2 of us. We have promised to accompany each other for life. Indeed, we had. A single hunter and a constellation. This is our story. Huh. Bei Hurayong laughed happily for some reason. This is crazy. That's why someone like Hamustra, a 5-star constellation, ends up taking care of beginners. Although he's a pervert like the rest, at least he doesn't consider the world his personal property. It's actually obvious, but there are no constellations that fulfill this obviousness. Think about it. How lacking in talent must they be to assign newbies to someone like Hamustra? This is just ridiculous. Now. Master, let's get going. The boy smiled brightly, arms crossed. This time, it's a quest to beat up those white demon cult bastards. My only believer. I smiled. Yes, let's go. My God. I'm just curious to ask. If I say that the exchange between you two looked extremely cringy to me, would this also get censored by world censorship? What did you just say? It gets censored. Fuck. Look at this guy, being so childish. We continued our journey. The white demon cult members were lawless villains. On every first day of the month, the white demon cult would descend to the 12 worlds they had colonized and gather 300 children. They were offerings for human sacrifice. They sacrificed the lives of these children to accumulate internal energy, which they referred to as demonic energy. I was furious. This is an evil that the Death King cannot tolerate. Tick. A day passed. The Death King did not hesitate to punish the false demonic cults. By the standards of the Death King, they were clearly evil. There was no need to consider the opponent's circumstances. There was no need to heed their past. There was no need even to understand their hearts. Without any thought, simply, it was enough to swing the sword. Tick. A day passed. A fight where you don't have to yield yourself. How delightful is a fight where it's okay not to accept others. How enjoyable. How happy. Perhaps the Death King has long been thirsty for the act of fighting while forgetting himself. Tick. A day had passed. If you're going to be childish, then I'll join in being childish too. Every day, a ticking sound could be heard from somewhere. It was just a sound that quickly faded into oblivion. It sounded like the ticking of a second hand on a clock, or like someone freely moving their fingers, clicking away at a typewriter. I don't expect much from you. Zombie. As if playing the keys of a piano. But do this one thing for me. What is it this time? Every dawn, I will recite a sentence to you. Just don't forget these sentences. Don't worry. They're not sentences that threaten your adorable God. They won't shake the world, just meaningless sentences. So you're saying it's all nonsense? Right. It's nonsense. Bei Hurayong smiled. His gaze was not on me but on someone else, beyond my shoulder, staring into the void. So, it's just one sentence a day. Utterly useless nonsense. You can remember that much, right? Just say it. Craziness is abundant, so this year will also be a hit. That's pure nonsense, isn't it? It feels like if you squeezed it, nonsense juice would just gush out. Remember it. However, Bei Hurayong's face was incredibly serious. Forget it and you're dead. Is there any meaning to this beyond using up the space of my life's disk cleanup? Remember it before your entire life is thrown into the trash can, damn it. It's just one sentence a day. I won't say anything else today, so please just listen. It was rare for Bei Hurayong to beg like this. His expression was so frightening that it almost overpowered the mood. I sighed. All right. It's not a big deal to remember it. Tick. A day had passed. Every dawn, or at least when it felt like dawn to me, Bei Hurayong indifferently let a sentence slip. The king is a sage king, and the general is a famous general. I can see you want to say something, but just engrave it in your brain. Do I really have to beg you to listen to me? No, you don't have to go that far. It's just, you look so dumb. It's pitiful. Go ahead. Feel as much pity as you want. Let's just wait and see. Tick. A day had passed. I succeeded in subduing the white demon cult members. It was a grueling quest. The sorcerers who had been offering human sacrifices for hundreds of years were strong, and the power they had amassed was solid, regardless of their karma. Evil deeds. Misdeeds. Villains. I had to put forth all my effort to defeat them, who perfectly fit the three bad qualities like a picture. The evening is happy, so the saint blesses it. Tick. Yet, the grueling fight was unknowingly enjoyable. Upon reflection, I think I loved giving my all in a confrontation. Maybe that's why I felt a surge of joy deep in my heart when I faced the gray spider of the magic tower. Lay out the stall and enjoy a lifetime. Tick. The journey with the boy became more enjoyable as the days passed. the world was still overflowing with such clear evils. Harm did not breed harm, and harm did not pretend to be harmed. They were villains that could be cleanly sliced like cutting tofu with a knife. Terror be gone, death stay far away. Tick. Still, Bei Hurayang spouted meaningless nonsense. A day had passed. Happy sailing, Kim Gongja, la la la, you bastard. I just let it be from now on. Just as I am me, Bei Hurayang will always be Bei Hurayang. Meaning, people can change, but the Sword Emperor cannot. Master. On the 7th day. Do you trust me? Today, I was once again taking down false demonic cult followers with the boy. After the Blood Demon, God Demon, and White Demon, the last one left was the Mad Demon. After smashing the enemy's outpost, we headed to the Mad Demon cult's hideout with cheerful steps. Yu Hung Hyung. The boy was even humming through his nose. Watching his back, I too felt proud. It was as if the canvas of my heart was being painted with the color of happiness. Bei Hurayang, in a way, was like ash unexpectedly sprinkled on a colorful canvas. No, I don't believe you. I believe in you. What? I got goosebumps. Are you crazy? But it's not just you I believe in. I also believe in Marcus's grandpa. If you can't reach the 99th floor, eventually grandpa will take your place. Saying instead is funny because he's not a substitute for you. But I believe you know what I mean. Bei Hurayang's voice dissolved into the air. Frankly, it's okay if you fail. Belief means thinking that the other person will give their best. And the best isn't something decided by others but can only be determined by oneself. So, a relationship based on trust means that each decides their best and accepts the other's decisions. That's all there is to it. Nothing more. Do you know? I'm really scared right now. Seriously. Even if he cursed and swore at me 24/7, my legs wouldn't feel as weak as they do now. What are you trying to bring up with such a preamble? Just listen to me for a moment. I am listening. No. Bei Hurayang stared at me intently. Listen. Do you remember the nonsense I've been spouting for a week? I remember. Your memory is crap. Do you really remember everything? You made such a big deal about remembering it, so should I take it lightly? And I have a good memory. It's just that yours is perverted, but I'm not inferior to anyone else. Good to hear. Bei Hurayang nodded his chin. Then recite it. Out loud? No. In your head. Fine. I closed my eyes. Master? Perhaps because I suddenly stopped walking. I could feel the boy, who had been walking ahead, stopping and turning back to look at me. I'm sorry. Please wait a moment, my God. I asked him for a moment. I quietly focused on the ritual. The nonsense Bei Hurayang mentioned. The image was engraving white letters onto a black canvas. For an aura user, whose job is to manifest the products of consciousness externally, it wasn't difficult. Like stacking bricks, I pieced together the phrases from the past 7 days line by line. Craziness is abundant, so this year will also be a hit. The king is a sage king, and the general is a famous general. The evening is happy, so the saint blesses it. Lay out the stall and enjoy a lifetime. Terror be gone, death stay far away. Happy sailing, Kim Gongja, la la la, you bastard. Indeed, it wasn't difficult. However, the reason Bei Hurayang went to such lengths to say this. To uncover that reason, I accelerated the time of the ritual. He wouldn't make such an embarrassing statement just for some simple nonsense. What could it be? What kind of prank had he set up? What did Bei Hurayong say? I recalled. Somehow, inexplicably, parts of the memory were as if eaten away by worms. Yet, despite that, I could recall some voices. This seems to be a screwed situation. I remember. But this alone doesn't give me a clue. Are you hearing what I said for the first time? This too. Good. Then, what about this? If you're going to be childish, then I'll join in being childish too. I paused my accelerated consciousness on the timeline for a moment. Childishly. The Sword Emperor is inherently a childish person. Therefore, if you take only the first character of each thing Bei Hurayong said. G from craziness is abundant, so this year will also be a hit. Dang from the king is a sage king, and the general is a famous general. J from the evening is happy, so the saint blesses it. Chua from lay out the stall and enjoy a lifetime. Te from terror be gone, death stay far away. Eo from happy sailing, Kim Gongja, la la la, you bastard. No way. It doesn't make sense. Even if I take the last character and sound it out. Senanazara? No. Trying to combine them in my head doesn't assemble any plausible message. No, wait. Just a moment. G from craziness is abundant, so this year will also be a hit. Dang from the king is a sage king, and the general is a famous general. J from the evening is happy, so the saint blesses it. Chua from lay out the stall and enjoy a lifetime. Te from terror be gone, death stay far away. Eo from happy sailing, Kim Gongja, la la la, you bastard. So. GG. Dang dang. JE. Chua chua. Te. EO. So. Now. Right. Away. To that. Constellation. Die. Master? Do you trust me? Are you all right? You've been silent for a while. And your expression is very blank. I believe in you. Perhaps because of the internal injuries from fighting the demon heads. The continuous battles were indeed too much. We rushed the quests a bit too hastily, didn't we? Shall we rest a bit before moving on? Listen. Master? I handed the dagger to the boy. And then I pulled that dagger towards my own throat. A ripping sound burst forth. No, master, what on earth? Everything happened in an instant. Without giving him a chance to resist, without any time to use any ability or skill, I fixed his body with aura, and placed my life on the edge of the fixed blade. My life was sliced diagonally away. You have died. Beyond the blade, the boy wore an expression of horror. Dash. A scream. Why? Damn it. Damn it. A shout. A skill has been activated. And then, the world surrounding me shattered to pieces.